The greatest illusion in history is to completely believe that a power has been destroyed. When the last stronghold of the Knights Templar fell in 1314, the world thought the era of the armored bankers was over. However, what happened was not an end, but the greatest asset stripping and rebranding operation in history. That enormous capital in the hands of the Templars was transferred underground overnight into the untraceable financial channels we call dark pools. Today, the most critical technology in this bloody transition process was Cryptex. Cryptex was not just an encrypted box, it was the ancestor of today's private key mechanism in the digital world. The Council of Shadows sent instructions hidden inside these encrypted boxes to the masters scattered throughout Europe. The instructions were clear. Seize the markets, not the thrones. Don't befriend kings. Dispossess them by burdening them with debt. Today, we decipher why Giovanni's Medici empire, built on gold, became a victim of a financial simulation. How whispers leaking from servants' quarters overthrew kingdoms, and how Templar DNA earned the name Fugger in the cold, foggy streets of Augsburg. If you're ready, the Shadow Bankers are about to begin. Welcome to the mysterious pages of the archives of Golden Thrones. Once, the magnificent bank that Giovanni de Medici had founded through deceit by placing a pirate at the head of the Vatican was now turning into a story of collapse in the hands of his grandson, Lorenzo de Medici, nicknamed the Magnificent Lorenzo. While adorning Florence with priceless works of art, was actually involved in a very dangerous game. Believing he could control the Vatican through his financial dealings, Lorenzo accidentally stumbled upon a cryptogram in the depths of the archives. This was a message sent centuries ago by the Templars themselves to the Pope, demanding retribution for the execution of Jakob de Molay, a message full of threats hidden between the lines. When Lorenzo deciphered this mechanical secret, he had proven one thing. The Templars were not dead. They had only disguised themselves. But Lorenzo had a problem. Visibility, Renaissance art, endless festivities, and political ambitions made the Medicis easy targets under the new rules of the system. The palace of the pleasure-loving dynasty was already being conquered from within. The masters of the Council of Shadows had established a network they called Lace Spies to monitor every move of the Medicis. These could be young women who cleaned the rooms and made the beds, maids who entered the most private rooms of the palace, or spies working alongside them. One of them, Elena, on the morning after a night filled with wine and love, found the documents Lorenzo had carelessly left on the table. As Lorenzo got closer to the secret of the Cryptex, he was actually signing his own defection from the system. The solution for the Council of Shadows was simple, but they needed Lorenzo's money, not his blood. The Medici bankruptcy would not be an economic accident. It would be the result of an order from Augsburg. The Council of Shadows' plan was working flawlessly. They injected Templar capital into the market using thousands of masks. In Portugal, they maintained the religious wing as the Order of Christ and the Messiah, and in Germany, as the Rose and Cross. But the real move was in the realm of commerce. The Hanseatic League, which suddenly rose in Northern Europe, was actually the new and legal name for the Templars' international trade network. They were no longer armored knights, but respectable businessmen in furs entering the ports. This structure was history's first offshore zone of immunity. Thanks to the Hanseatic League's vast logistical network, gold from underground was laundered through money laundering and infiltrated into the wool, cotton, and iron trade. The Cryptex sent to members of the Hanseatic League now carried not only trade routes, but also the king's debt spirals and lists of nobles to be dispossessed. This monopoly on copper and iron placed armies under the command of bankers, not kings, while the Medicis of Florence were preoccupied with art. A colossal power was rising from behind the smoky looms in Augsburg. The Fugger family. They were the most disciplined representatives of the Council of Shadows. Hans Fugger had not entered the city as a simple weaver. The Cryptex sent to him whispered which mines he should close, and how the Vatican was trying to deceive the people. The Fuggers put to life the lesson they had learned from their Templar masters. Never trust the Vatican. Be a banker who rules over kings. While the Medicis patronized artists, the Fuggers bought up mines and arms foundries. Through their monopoly on copper and silver, they seized control of all of Europe's raw materials. Now, if a king wanted to wage war, he needed not the art of the Medici, but the silver of the Fugger and the logistics of the Hanseatic League. When the decision was made by the Hanseatic League that Augsburg would be the new monetary center of Europe, a crypto text had already been sent to the Fugger family. It was decided to apply a stress test to the Medici banks. The Fuggers, by suddenly restricting the supply of silver in the market, locked down the Medici payment systems. One morning, all Medici branches from Florence to London simultaneously began experiencing a liquidity problem. This was no coincidence. It was a hostile takeover operation. The Council of Shadows had dispossessed the Medici, leaving the key to the Fugger family. The Templars had lost their physical strongholds, but were now everywhere in the world, in every industry and every institution. One day they would disguise themselves as clergymen and control the soul of the Vatican. The next day they would manipulate markets under the mask of a cloth merchant. Another vision of the Council of Shadows was complete. Don't rule kings, rule the market. The Medici family was merely a pawn whose time had run out in this grand game. The Fugger family, on the other hand, was a disguised, more intelligent and far more ruthless new form of Templar capital. They would not repeat the mistakes of the past. Instead of building castles, they would seal palaces with promissory notes. While the Hanseatic League controlled the ports, the Fuggers controlled the underground mines, and, through the Vatican branch, the souls of people. This tripartite structure was the first trilateral formation of the modern global financial system. But who was actually controlling whom? The system wasn't dead. It had simply evolved from visibility to indispensability. How could a banker change the fate of an entire continent with a single signature? While Jakob Fugger earned the title Jakob the Rich, which king's mortgaged lands did he carry in his pocket? Into which other palace's inner chambers did the Council of Shadows place its female spies? In the next chapter, we will discuss the secret man who emerged from the shadows and ascended the throne. The Fugger Empire, the men who bought emperors. We will decipher how many silver coins the crown of the Holy Roman Empire was bought for. Follow the shadows, because the system is much older and much deeper than you think.